What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Start Piano. Today, we're going to be talking about what to do if you have limited time to practice. How can you actually make your practice sessions the most efficient possible? I just made another video recently talking about how to find more time to practice. So if you haven't seen that, you can check that out as well. But this one's going to be a little bit different. This one's going to be like if you can't find any more time, your schedule is just completely booked out, you have no extra time, you only have 10 minutes per day to practice the piano. How can you make that the most efficient and the most progress that you can make within only 10 minutes? How can you achieve that even if you don't have a lot of time? So that's what this one's going to be about, a little bit different than the previous one. So again, point number one, how to make the most of short practice sessions is you need to have your practice sessions planned out ahead of time. So if you only have 10 minutes per day, right, or 5 minutes per day, even if you're just crazy busy, that's all you have, you need to have that 5 or 10 minutes planned out. What you don't want to do is go to the piano, sit down, and just start doing random things, because random things, they don't lead to progress as fast as things that have structure, as things that have a plan, right? And that's for anything. You can think of, imagine going on a plane. You're going on a plane ride and you're going from California to Florida. And imagine if you're a pilot and you don't have a plane to get there. You just start flying your plane, you turn the engine on and you take off and you just start flying wherever, versus a pilot who knows the exact coordinates to where to go. He knows where he should be flying over at this time and this time. He knows what time he needs to take off, what time he needs to land in Florida. He has everything mapped out ahead of time. That pilot, I'm sure you would agree, is going to end up at the correct landing spot safely and on time. And the other pilot, who knows? He might get lost at sea. He might end up in a different country. We don't know, because he does not have a plan beforehand. Same thing with the piano. You need to have a plan before you sit down to practice so that the little time that you do have can be used in the absolute best way possible. And the best way possible is subjective. It depends on your goals. It depends what you want to do. We're going to get into that a little bit later in this video. Point number two is you need to use a timer. So once you have your plan, say you want to play a certain song within a month or something like that, that's your plan. You want to play some classical piece, you want to play some rock and roll piece within a week, within a month, whatever. You need to figure out what needs to be done for that, and you need to use a timer. So let's take the 10-minute example. You should only be doing about 20% technique work and then 80% song work, and you should always end on something positive and fun. So if you only have 10 minutes per day, we can say you use 1 minute to warm up. So literally take your phone out, turn off the notifications on your phone, or use a stopwatch, hit start on the timer, and 1 minute should be warming up and technique. Okay, so you can do something like scales, you can do something like arpeggios, you can just play chords in different inversions. You can do that in one or both hands. Hand-in exercises, there's a whole bunch of things you can do for technique and to warm up to get the blood flowing. If you only have 10 minutes per day, I would suggest just doing 1 minute of this. So 1 minute of that, and then after that's done, 8 minutes is going to be the song work. So have it very specific. Have what measure you're going to work on. Is it going to be the full measure? Is it going to be a half measure? What specifically do you need to get done? Is it trying to get both hands to play together at the same time? Are you trying to work on expression? Maybe you have the actual notes down in your hands, but you're trying to work on the expression, the articulation in a specific measure. What is the outcome that you're looking for within that 8 minutes? And again, if you only have 10 minutes, you don't have a lot of time to play the piano, this is the way you need to think about it, especially. I would say you can use these tips as well, even if you do have more time, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, but which will be beneficial, which will help you as well. But especially if you have limited time, like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you definitely need to be timing this out and do all of these things so that you're not wasting those precious minutes that you do have, right? So once you get that first minute done, turn on your timer again, use that first minute. Once that is done, next 8 minutes will be the song work. Figure out what needs to be done within that 8 minutes. Once that is done, your next minute. So now we are at 9 minutes. We had 1 minute for the warm up technique. We had 8 minutes for the song work. Now you have 60 seconds left. That last 60 seconds, do something fun, do something positive. Play songs that you already know. Try to improvise. Try to play a song by ear. Do whatever is fun for you. Just kind of mess around on the piano, see what sounds you like, right? Do something fun. Do something fun that lasts 60 seconds, and then you're done. Not a lot of time to play, not a lot of time to get better. But if that's all you have, you can't get more time, then this is your only option. So we need to maximize your efficiency when practicing, maximize your time that you do have, and timing it and coming in with a plan are two great options that you can do to make sure that that happens. Make sure you're using your time effectively, right? Point number 3, we kind of already talked about this, but put your phone on do not disturb. So eliminate distractions. If you have a private office space like I do, shut all the doors, lock the family members out, lock your pets out. This is your 10 minutes to practice. Don't let anybody take those 10 minutes away from you, okay? Very important. So shut the doors if you can. If you have a private space, put up a curtain, whatever you need to do to make sure that you're alone. Make sure you have that full time to focus. Turn off your phone, turn off the notifications. If you're addicted to your phone and you can't do that, put your phone in another room, take a stopwatch out or some kind of clock and time it that way, okay? But do whatever you need to do. Eliminate the distractions so that those 10 minutes you are completely locked in. You are completely focused on the task at hand. Next point here is make sure all of your materials are ready to go, right? So if you know that you are going to be working on hand-in exercises for the day, make sure your hand-in book is right there. Make sure it's open to the page that you want to work on. Make sure you know what needs to be done. You don't want to come into your practice session and now you're opening up books. You're trying to find the right page. You can't find your book, right? Everything should be organized. Everything should be right there and ready to go because you only have 10 minutes. So you don't have time to waste. If you're taking 30 seconds to try to find your book and then you take another 2 minutes to figure out what exercise you want to work on, that's 2.5 minutes. That's a quarter of your practice session gone already, right? So we don't want to do that. We need to make sure we're maximizing this time. So have all of your materials ready. Have your metronome right there. Have your stopwatch right there. If you need headphones to be plugged into the piano because maybe you're practicing early or you don't want to disturb anybody else, make sure that those are plugged in. Make sure you're ready to go. And then if you're working on your songbook, make sure that's right there and ready to go as well. Again, this is kind of like type A personality I'm talking about here. If that's not you, you might struggle with this, but this is kind of how you need to be if you have very limited time practicing and you still want to progress with the piano as fast as humanly possible. If you want both of those things, then you need to be type A. You need to be utilizing your time in the absolute best way possible, right? Point number 5 or 6, again, you still want to do technique work. So you don't want to just be kind of playing the piano as in playing songs you already know or trying to improvise. You do want to do those things, but you also need a little bit of technique work. Last video, I gave the 80-20 rule, so 80% playing songs, 20% doing technique work. So if you only have 10 minutes, make sure you're doing at least 1 minute. If that's all you have, that's all you have. Make sure you do 1 minute of the technique. I already gave you examples of that, but like things like the hand-in, chord inversions, arpeggios work, scales work. You can modify your scales. You can do parallel motion, so your both hands are going up at the same time and going down. You can do contrary motion. One hand goes up the piano, one hand goes down the piano, and then they meet in the middle. You can do scales in thirds, scales in tenths, right? You can do chords, play diatonic chords in root position and all the inversions for a particular scale. It's a whole bunch of different things you can do for technique. And you need to be doing that at least for a minute. So don't completely blow that off. Make sure you're getting some of that work in every single day, every time you practice, okay? And that's pretty much it. So if you only have 10 minutes a day, just to recap, you don't have a lot of time, but you want to make the most out of it. Point number 1, make sure you have everything planned out ahead of time. Make sure you know what you're going to do. You know what needs to be worked on. Everything is done. Ideally, you want this written out so that you don't have to rely on your memory to think about this. You can pull up an iPad like I do, just take notes on what needs to be done for the day, and you're good to go. But definitely have a plan before you sit down to play because we need to use your time in the best way possible. Point number 2 is use a timer. If you have your phone on, make sure you turn off all the notifications. You can use your phone as a timer if you don't want to do that, or you think that you can't trust yourself because you might get distracted with the phone. Put the phone in another room. use a physical timer or watch or some kind of stopwatch you can put on your piano, but use a timer. Make sure everything is laid out. If you only have 10 minutes, 1 minute of technique work, 8 minutes of song work, and then a minute of doing something fun, right? That's the way it should be. And depending on how much time you have to practice, you can modify these numbers, but those are the important ones. Point number 3, again, put your phone on do not disturb, but this is really to eliminate distractions. So close the door if you can. You can see my door is shut behind me over here. If you can practice early in the morning where nobody's up so they can't distract you, that's good too. If you don't have a private space, try to do it in the morning. Try to put up a curtain or something, whatever you need to do to kind of seal yourself off from the rest of the world, anybody that you may be living with, any pets that you have, because that 10 minutes is yours. That 10 minutes is your time to practice. Don't let anybody take that time away from you. And next point here, again, always make sure you still do the technique work. So don't eliminate that, even if you don't have a lot of time to practice. Always do a little bit of it. It should be 80% song work and 20% technique work. No matter how much time you have to practice, you should follow that rule for you, right? And just make sure you're following that and getting that technique work in, because it's still important. It can be 90-10 as well, 90% song work, 10% technique. That's fine. You can kind of figure that out on your own. But the point of this is to do some technique work no matter how little time you have to practice, okay? So those are all the points I have for you about how to make the most use of your practice time. And again, make sure all of your material is laid out too. So I forgot that one, but make sure your book is ready. You know what page you need to play on. You know exactly what you're going to be doing. Everything is laid out. You have all of your materials with you, and they're all there and ready to go. So all of those things will help you maximize your practice time, even if you don't have a lot. If you do those things and you do them every day, even if it's only for 10 minutes per day, you will still improve, guaranteed, week by week, month by month, I promise. With all that said, I do have a free guide on my website. That's 34 essential tips for the adult beginner piano player to help you play songs that you love as fast as possible. We go over more mindset and approach. We go over practice strategies. We go over music theory concepts. And at the end, we'll teach you how to play your first song. That's all at the link below, completely for free. In addition, I am offering lessons right now via Zoom. To get started with those, send me an email. Link is down below. My name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano, and happy practicing.